I'm Hot and Cold, flex player for Mirage Esports, and you're watching R6 NAL.
We start off the day with an overtime on Chalet, and Sonics came out on top to be in first place. But for this next series right here, we have two really good teams working their way up in the rankings. It's going to be Disrupt and Mirage, and I'm going to be your host, Veli. Right next, we are my analysts, Jesse and Jacob. And Jesse, that big smile on your face. Are we expecting Mirage to go all out today, man?
I don't know. Mirage have been a team with a lot of ups, a lot of downs so far. I don't know if we're expecting them to show up too big, but this is one that could flop either way. I think that both DG and Mirage are teams looking to prove themselves this season, and so this will be a real test on who really deserves to be on the upper echelon of the mid-tier teams in the league.
Yeah, now, Jacob, let's talk about Disrupt Gaming for a second. Looking at them in Season 1, seeing the potential and seeing them not being able to reach it with their unorthodox play style and them being able to master it so far to rack up a few wins this season, they're looking so good. You take a look at Iconic and Mark, Shuttle, popping off, Retro, doing his job. This team is firing off on all cylinders. Now, when we take a look at the last game that DG had, and, I got to throw out J9O's name as well, but considering their last game, what was impressive to you that you want to see more of in the future?
I think we're starting to see this team finally merge all of their puzzle pieces kind of into the same formula. When you have two players that aren't with the squad anymore and you have to find some effective way to rebuild, over time we're beginning to see the positive impact that both Mark the Shark and Iconic are bringing to this lineup. It just took a little bit for them to get going. Something that I particularly wanted to mention that we don't really sing his name that much because we talk about Iconic being crazy or J9O getting frags or Shuttle dropping 20 bombs with sunglasses on. The one guy that we don't really talk about that much is Retro, and he is an unsung hero for this team. He's leading from the back line, he's the captain, the IGL, and he's also their support player, but he is one of the more consistent players that's in this league. A 67% cost, 33% survival rating, and he also plays the hard support and the anchor operators and has 6 plants. You want to know who else has more plants than Retro right now? The only man that I can think of in the league is Geo has it, Luke has it, but Retro is tied with Dream for some of the most plants in the North American League so far through this stage. He is solid and consistent and helps to ground a team that is otherwise crazy heavy on frags and giving them a basis that they can work from. So as much as we might want to highlight the players that have higher stats, give Retro credit where it's due because he is holding the fort down for his team.
Jesse, now looking at Disrupt Gaming as well, you actually have something that you would like to show off to us soon, but talking about their matchup against XSET Gaming, a 7-3 win. That was a definitive win, by the way, and guess who was on top, Jesse? It was J9O.
Oh yeah. He really did show up, and I thought that he was one of those players that didn't necessarily have a ton of flashy clutches or anything like that, but he was just consistent throughout the entire game against XSET. He was there putting in the work for his squad, and so I thought that was really awesome to see from J9O. We have him here in his stats, 13-5, 90% cost. I mean, this is just, these are the numbers that make star players, right? And I think that J9O has been given a lot more room to grow and room to breathe this season compared to last year. Last year, he seemed like, he was a little bit living in NJR's shadow to an extent, but, this year he's really come alive, working well with Iconic and even Mark on the roam to really have some big impacts. I thought that Mark, last Playday had some more of those, flashy plays. He really did, make the UMP look like the R4C on a couple of those rounds. His roam clear was solid, and J9O's coordination with him was a huge part of that, because if it was Mark on the pulse, J9O was there to protect him, to make sure nobody came downstairs and tried to mess with his C4 player. So J9O is a really solid player, working well within his team, and he's got the stats to back it up.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, let's talk about Mirage for a second. Jesse, this is an org that was originally in the Canadian League, and take a look at how they've been doing so far. Loading has been way more of an impact lately, but you also have a demo for this team. Hot and Cold is going to lead the way, by the way. He's going to be the MVP, and if I have to say it outright, MVP of the season, hands down. Hard breach is just a hard-ass period. He just handles every 1v1 that's thrown in his way. But with the demo that you would eventually like to show about Mirage is, they're going to start getting seated right now after this huddle. Talk about that game plan.
Yeah.
What did this replay highlight ultimately about Mirage?
Yeah, I think this is like a bit of a mistake that I've seen from Mirage on their attacks. They really need to do a better job, I think, of sticking with their planter. Watch this round as we'll get through it a little bit here. They're going to start with this plant. They're going to get denied from up above. It's a living room library take. This is one that they should be winning. Now they're going to go for some sort of a smoke plant here, and it's going to be False who stops it with his glasses up above. There's no pressure on this. We'll get a little bit farther into this. They go for this plant here. False is able to manage to stop this. And then we'll end up seeing a little bit later on, after Dream dies, Benji will be the one to pick it up, and it didn't look like we lasted long enough there to actually see it. But what ended up happening later on in that replay is that they abandoned their planter, and they pushed everybody to the south side of the map, and then what they had was Benji dropping the defuse kit, being flanked from up the laundry or the Astro stairs, and not managing to get that plant down because they didn't have anybody watching him. So that's something I'm looking out for Mirage heading into this next Playday. But of course, you know, if they can keep their primary planter alive and Hot and Cold's fragging like that, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, 16 kills, 11 deaths. I'm not used to seeing this from Hot and Cold, and I like that I'm getting used to it. Jacob, looking at this team as well. Mirage, 3 straight wins, man. They're showing that they found the secret sauce, and they're trying to continue making it, man.
I think at this point, it's almost like the curse was the fact that they had a documentarian in the background who was recording everything that they were doing. And like for all of the games that they lost at the beginning of the season, we had Northern Lights episodes that we could go back and watch and figure out what their mindset is like. I wish now we had the chance to figure out what was going on inside their head, what their mentality was like. Their morale has to be through the roof because, yeah, 3 straight victories when they started off the season winless is a really good sign, even if they're not against, you know, very high echelon teams so far. They defeated Beast Coast, they defeated Xset in overtime, and then they also defeated SSG in overtime. So not any of the ones who were like really doing well through this point in stage 1, but it still gives you a lot of momentum. And now you're coming against DG, who I would argue is probably the toughest opponent that you've been able to face thus far. They have a structured play style. They're beginning to understand more about what makes this team click, and given time, they have improved steadily. We've seen that with loading. We've talked about that with Hot and Cold all season, but everyone on this team seems like they're finally like coming into their own like we were expecting that they would. They're not just a ragtag team of rejects from other teams. They are one solid cohesive unit, and so far they're proving that.
I love that. I still want to see Nick step up in a big way. I remember last Playday, I said the same thing about Mark, and then Stokes yelled at me on the mic during his commentary saying, this is what we've been talking about. I want that moment with Nyx. I think Nyx is definitely built like that. But Jesse, which map do you think that Nyx can possibly get on the floor running with to start gaining that momentum to get back to where he can be who I think he is?
I think there's some good maps from Mirage. Clubhouse probably sticks out as the biggest one, and that'll be the first ban from Disrupt Gaming, fair enough. Otherwise, I predicted that we might end up on Villa. That was my guess. We see Oregon being banned out. Not one that I would have expected them to go. Coastline, another interesting ban coming out. Chalet makes sense. They don't want to play that one. They haven't, played it so far. In Cafe, well, they played it once and failed. So we go to Villa. Okay, good. This is one that I expected to play on. This is actually exactly the ban phase I predicted, but swap Coastline and Oregon. So otherwise, I pretty much figured that this would be where we headed.
Nerd.
This is a map that both teams have found some success on recently, right? Disrupt Gaming played this map a ton last year. This year, they won a clean 7-3 over Xset, so they're feeling confident. And Mirage, they played it a lot at the Pro-Am, but not only that, just played it against Space Station Gaming.
Right.
They had a lot of close clutches, but overall did win that game. So yeah, it's a strong map for both teams. Good map.
All right, so you think it's a strong map for both teams. Jacob, who do you think is going to look stronger at the end of the day in this match? If it's going to be Disrupt or Mirage?
So it's a battleground that doesn't really favor either side, honestly, because Mirage had that massive win yesterday against SSG in crazy spectacular fashion. I would pick them were it not for the fact that it seemed like they were really, I don't know, it relied on a lot of individual prowess from some players and getting clutches in crazy moments, and Disrupt seemed like they have a little bit more identity now at this point. They're a little bit more formulated and they kind of understand what they want to go for. So I'm going to give it to Disrupt. This is really, really close. If only from a stats point of view, though. If you have players like Shuttle who can counteract Hot and Cold, who goes crazy, both of them I think is, but that's probably going to be the duel to watch in this game. I just inherently lean a little bit more towards DG, even if it's for reasons I can't totally explain. Can I gut feeling on predictions
Jesse,
here? I kind of do.
Sure, why not? I'll allow it. Especially because I think that he probably...
Thank you for allowing it, Dad.
He
Appreciate
probably
it.
did make the right call. I'm also going to pick Disrupt. I think this is a story of two teams that were really struggling at the beginning of the stage, and then in recent times have done a lot better. For Disrupt, I talked with Retro a couple of days ago, and he said, you know what, straight up, we're just not a very good Clubhouse team. And we realized that after playing Clubhouse in our opening 2 games. This is not Clubhouse. As you'll remember, that was the opening ban for Disrupt, and so I think that this will be, continuing the trend of DG finding success on these other maps. Mirage are a strong squad, but their game last Playday just wasn't confidence inspiring. Huge clutches, well done by Dream, loading, hot and cold, everybody on that team. But that's not how you win consistent games. I've got to go Disrupt.
You know what? Both of you are going for Disrupt, so just off rip, I'm going to go with Underdog. I really like what Mirage has shown me lately. I love the way Loading has been playing. I'm loving the way that everyone else on this roster has been showing up as well. But Benji, I'm expecting Benji to have a really big game. I want to see him match up against the top fraggers on this roster. So ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it. The predictions are right there smack dab on your screen. But coming up next for the second match of the day, it's going to be Disrupt Gaming versus Mirage on Villa. Intero and Kickstar takeaway.
I'm blue. You
and
can
I
be
am
Stokes.
Library.
Someone's got to be it, and it's sure not me.
I mean, I'm okay with it. He's got really nice eyes, and I'll take that.
You know what? We played another game that involves. It's like we were playing it last night, you and I. It's like a group of champions. Let's just call it that. And we were playing that last night with Stokes actually and Valley, and we were having a great time. And I want people to know, very similar to what you might have seen on social media between the Sonics and the XSET teams. It is theater. It is not real beef. I consider Sam a great friend, and when we make fun of Stokes, it is done out of love. Sam and I actually started 2020 by going on a trip to the Rocky Mountains, and then he shaved my head, if you remember, and we had New Year's Eve out in Banff, where I used to live. So
and under the stars, you two found each other, this magical moment, and shared it together.
No, it was entirely platonic, not romantic, but I appreciate you doing that, Michael. I save my love strictly for you and for this game of Rainbow Six, which we are just a couple minutes away from getting into. You've got the cool shades of Shuttle on the left. On the right-hand side, you've got the hand claps of Dream. Who's going to be colder? Hot and cold? Or those shades of Shuttle? That's not the question, though, by the way, but you can make that the question if you want. Who's going to be colder? Uncold or Shuttle? No, that's not the question. The real question is, this pair is tied for first with 3 1vx wins this stage. Those are clutches, by the way. Will Iconic or Dream clutch up today? Who do you think will win? And go over to R6 Esports NA and make sure that you vote.
Yep. And when you're at R6 Esports NA, there's another very important thing that you can do. Ubisoft is asking for your input on the league that we run here at the NAL. We want to hear from you, the fans, to see what you think is important in terms of what can be changed moving forward. This is your chance to effect that change. I did the poll myself. It took somewhere around 10 minutes. It's not a very long one, but again, super meaningful if you're looking to influence change on this league. We definitely want to hear your opinion. Ubisoft wants to hear your opinion. So again, R6 Esports NA on Twitter. Fill out that survey. Support your league with your feedback, and hopefully see some positive change come from that.
Well, this matchup, Michael, has Mirage and Disrupt going head-to-head. And just to get into it, as we are seconds away from seeing Villa yet again, Disrupt actually enters in 4th place. Hey, would you look at that? They have 3 victories, 1 overtime loss, 2 regulation losses. Their opponents, Mirage, have 1 regulation victory, 2 overtime victories, 1 overtime loss, 2 regulation losses. 8 points for Mirage, Disrupt with 10 points. And for DG, there are a lot of points still outstanding. DG's cap is 16. If they are able to beat Mirage and beat TSM, those will be 16 points that will launch them upwards into 1st place, potentially over the next 2 days. They've got some stiff competition. OXG having the day off obviously allows teams to catch up. They still trail Dark Zero and the Sonics. DG have shown that the changes that they made to the roster in the offseason have been enough to elevate their level of gameplay. Shuttle's been great. Mark the Shark has been great. The analyst desk cut through everybody. J9O and Iconic, obviously great. Retro, strong as well, even though he doesn't get a lot of say, or at least a lot of time in the spotlight. Mirage's depth isn't the greatest. They're going to play Villa, by the way, for the second time in a row. They played it yesterday in their matchup against SSG, and they barely eked out a victory. DG is a much more formidable team this season than SSG is. So, will Mirage, over the last 24 hours, had enough time to prep themselves? That's going to be the question to ask. A pair of SAS operators will be the attacking duo banned. It will be no Thatcher and no Sledge. Valkyrie and Maestro are your defender bans.
That means that you've got both Umai and Jaeger in play, and those are together very potent. So all the grenades that are likely going to be brought there by especially the Yana, not going to be too much of a factor moving forward. Lots of protection for those defenders. There's nothing special about these bans, to be honest. You're going over the operators. I mean, Sledge, I guess. Sledge is very useful for sure in terms of making sure that you can open up from above, but you've got breaching charges to do that. Statistically, Sledge is a better operator for Mirage by a large margin. He has a win delta of 54% for Disrupt, actually. Win delta of 54%. For Mirage, 39%. So, Mirage, Disrupt just don't want to deal with a hammer. That's it. And it's going to make your kitchen defenses a little bit stronger.
Let's break down Villa, shall we? This is still a very strong map for the defense, though it is pretty close to 50-50, and with the exception of Consulate, is actually the map that is closest to the most evenly balanced of all 7 maps that we have in the map pool right now. Amazingly, outside of Clubhouse, it's Coastline with the second best defensive win rate, which is not something I'm used to saying. Consulate is at 48% between the two sides, and then Villa is next with 58%. Aviator dramatically leads the way. This is an 81% win rate for the defenders. That is rock solid, and is, other than service/cooking, which is the front bottom floor bomb site of Cafe, it is the most defender sided bomb site in the NA League right now, and Villa's actually had 4 play days, so there's a decent amount of data to go off of. It also is going to be the first bomb site that we see Mirage, who I'm always tempted to call MRG, which is very similar to the esports org NRG. It's the first bomb site that Mirage is going to start on.
Right. MRG.
Presumably done, by the way, because of the fact that Mirage is too long. Especially when you look at somebody like whose name used to be Not Loading and Hot and Cold and Benji Mula. These names are way too long to have .Mirage after, so.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Ooh.
Early pick there for Mirage. C4. It's going to be Nyx. Not exactly sure where that C4 kill went to, but we know he got it. J9O not going to be able to play through this round.
Just honestly, that is a huge loss to DG. Both Shuttle and J9O have been absolute forces of nature for this squad. So losing J9O, losing all the utility of your Zofia, you're not going to have a ton of time to clear now, and you're not going to have as much to clear with, especially since there's ADSs on the board. There's one of my discs on the board. There are Vulcan shields on the board. So that's a particularly damning blow to Disrupt. Still tons of time to turn things around. They just need to make sure that they're not wasting time. And well, Mark takes down the hard carry of Mirage and Hot and Cold, who's typically leading the way for his team. Benji's blood splattered on the walls of Red Stair, if you're okay with that gruesome imagery, as he's removed from the action. Now Mirage's 3 remaining players will collide with the remaining 4 for Disrupt. And from the looks of it, it looks like DG is favoring a B execute. They're going to want to go over towards Aviator. Games is relatively safe. And because of that, Nyx will have a lot to do inside of Study, but he's going to rotate to main stairs. I don't know if he thinks that he heard something or got a call from somebody down below. Diffuser juggled back and forth as now Mark will make his way towards main stairs. and he's going to be engaged in a gunfight with Nyx that he loses. Nyx immediately traded out by Retro as DG will circle the wagons and go for a study execute. Mirage will try to tap away as best they can, loading, finishing him off with just a couple shots on the shuttle. So Diffuser now in the hands of Retro. We're out of time. Down goes Iconic. Retro trying his best. And the man who was so impactful in the final round of Villa is impactful in the first round today. Loading saves the day, denied the final kill, but still high impact frags, and Mirage on defense will take the very first round.
Excellent delay work for Mirage, and it all started off with that C4 kill. Getting rid of the Zofia, that's one of your primary entry operators on Disrupt side, and a lot of utility just whisked away by a C4. Good start, but that start is extended and continues to be good for Mirage when they hold top red for so darn long. Your Jaeger on top red not dying to the nades early on means that Disrupt don't have the leeway they want to push through landing 290 and get the control that allows them to execute onto the site. So it takes Disrupt another 30-40 seconds to get that control. Eventually they do, and they do get the kills. Fantastic. Things are starting to shape up for Disrupt, right? Well, wrong, because they've got like no time left. If you spend all of your time clearing out the roamers, then yeah, when it comes to the execution, you're going to have some problems. That's what we saw through that round. This is the main thing, time. Even though Disrupt played their execute very well, all things considered, they baited out the gas canisters. Those gas canisters were, in the end, ineffective in denying a plant. They baited out the C4s. They rotated 2 players over to study to deny the study pressure and allowed for a refrag to happen. Yeah, if it had just been the Ash coming up main stairs, Disrupt had no chance in that round. Nyx would have killed that Ash and then rotated study to deny the plant from a crossfire. But Disrupt were thinking things through. The only problem they were really presented with was time. And
This is what we saw yesterday, though.
Oh.
This was an issue for both of the teams yesterday. Both SSG and Mirage struggled with the clock immensely. Talked about how Villa's a big map. We talked about it being defender-sided and all the issues that might come with it, especially if a team is running a strategy involving Mozzie and Mute. Whenever SSG's on the board, we are contractually obligated to talk about that. Now, the time isn't really going to be the biggest impediment in this round. Nyx has been perfect so far through these 2 rounds on his entry, technically entry kills, even though he's playing on defense. The opening frags for Mirage in both rounds now. Obviously, it was a little bit too much, and that advantage carried through for the remainder of the round in round number 1. And while the win rate for teams that get the first pick is quite high, it is not always a certainty. The question is going to be with Markdown, yet another valuable utility operator, Ash's 6 potential explosive devices, 3 in her launcher and 3 in her pocket, are now also gone. This is going to be a potential challenge to see what we're going to have DG do through this mid-round.
Yeah, that was poor droning from Disrupt. That's it. Now, they are going to realize there's the mirror window completely exposed. I really don't know about that mirror window placement. You can just shoot it from this window. I mean, you're going to try and counter it with the C4. Maybe it's a bait. Then Nyx misses his C4, so bait won't work. They have more C4s, so he's going to retrieve it. But still, you could... I mean... There... Oh! He missed again. Maybe he wanted it to land low? It did a little bit of damage to Iconic. I don't know. Anyway, the mirror window's exposed. There's a lot of potential there to shoot it, and that'll allow for an execution into sight.
Just as an aside, you ever wonder how long their arms need to be? Because technically, that was like 6 feet away that he was able to retrieve the nitro cell. It's similar as why they just are able to pull metal reinforcements out of their backside. But I mean, that's a conversation for another day. Because we got 40 seconds left in the round. And Retro is going to try to ensure that his Selmas are not tricked. He's going to try, and that's the key word here, because it actually looks like Mirage is doing a very good job of holding it off. Deftly handled by Hot and Cold as a nitro cell. Punishes one of the players from DG. Retro looks to be getting that diffuser down. Shuttle covering over inside of Statuary, but there will be no diffuser planted. So the clock will continue to work against DG. They've got 2 bodies still left. J90 doesn't look to his left. He's too focused dead ahead. He gets finished off by Loading, who picks up a double kill yet again, leaving Shuttle in a 1v4. 10 seconds left. You don't even need to feed him kills, but Nyx wants to go for it anyway. Shuttle pivots around, can't outduel Loading. He's quite intent to get himself out of the basement of the CGG stats so far for this stage, because it's another big round from him. 2 in a row for Mirage on defense.
Yeah, I mean, loading there, that was a 3K. And I know it's, it's not a 4K, it's not an ace, sure, whatever, but talk about impactful frags. And that's all of the objective play stopped by one man. Loading. So well played. The execution for Disrupt, a little bit confusing. They took control of landing. They had their 90. The pressure applied to the site was negligible, though, because they rotated a lot of their manpower over to Master. And that take was pressured so heavily by time that it made many mistakes on its push and was easy for Mirage to, well, beat in the straight-up gunfights. Also, they tried to plant on the safe door, but they didn't smoke it or anything, or they didn't use any utility at all to make it so he wasn't exposed, because he was completely exposed. There wasn't even anyone directly covering. There's nobody on your master door holding a line of sight straight deep into the into trophy. Like, somebody actually has to cover planter. Like, that is a thing. The best they did on the attacking side was to inch their nomad, I believe, into statuary door, which is not. But that's not gonna stop the person from peeking you in sight, and that's what loading did, and there you go. That's, I don't know, it's confusing. I don't know what Disrupt was thinking.
I'm treated now to 2 villas in 2 days that have been hard to determine exactly what the underlying strategy is for some of these teams. I mean, Chalet was kind of the same way in that first matchup. It is such a hard map to defend that you have to swing, you have to take chances, you have to be aggressive. It gives you such a sizable advantage, and when the attackers are at such an advantage, just simply getting a pick early can make or break your entire defense. Villa doesn't really work that way, but I'm sure Mirage isn't complaining about the fact that for the 3rd round in a row, they've now got this opening pick. Iconic was trying to duel over towards Kitchen. His attention was elsewhere. Hot and Cold is the beneficiary of that, picking up his 2nd kill of the matchup. And with 2/3 of the round still to go, once again, Mirage has an early advantage. They have been able to snowball this into quite distinct victories, quite sizable victories. We'll see if that's able to hold through yet again.
Benji in the hallway. We'll take down one drone, and he's worried about pressure coming from living room, which is fair. But the player who was playing by bike and living is actually going to rotate out to the bike window. He's going the indirect route, and he'll rappel up to Boar. Or maybe, no, rotate over to Master. All right. Well, Shuttle's going to alleviate the pressure himself by just, well, leaving. That's going to allow Mirage to extend themselves to the southwest side should they choose to. Good use of the cardiac sensor here from Loading, who has been perfect in this match so far. 5 kills, no deaths. And his objective play has been perfect as well. Yeah, that's my bad. That's my bad, Loading. I'm sorry about that. And he will be
Caster's
the first
curse showing up.
Yeah, first death for his team. And there's the second as Benji goes down, who has yet to find his first kill. Dream, though, responds the frag onto Retro. This back and forth is not going to stop, it seems, until a little bit of a lull in the action. Diffuser retrieved, and Mark will take down Dream in Memorial. That's his 3rd kill this round, which will open up a spot for a potential plant. Hot and Cold has to retake from Pantry. Nyx has to retake outside China. This is not an easy retake for either of these players, but they at least have somewhat good crossfire working here. They aren't going to have the rotation through China Wall into a site, though, and that's going to preclude them from picking off any of these attackers as they set up for the post plant. Nice shot from Houghton to take down Mark in Memorial. There's the diffuser, but where are these attackers? The lack of knowledge here for the defense is going to be crippling. Nyx will start tapping away, and he's going to try and stick it, but Shuttle will not let him. Hot and Cold now has to take 2 1v1s, and he's not even going to win the first one. Shuttle breakdancing on the floor will take that fight.
The hitboxes can be so goofy when that happens, because it certainly seemed like the Nomad should not have gotten away with that, as, yeah, this is, well, I've seen a couple pro players do that at the after party, but I've never actually seen it in game. In fact, that move actually cost Yeti his pair of front teeth. So
God, I remember that.
yeah, that was not ideal. An expensive mistake. Regardless, I kind of lost Mirage halfway through that round, and I'm not sure if you felt the same way, because it sure didn't seem like Mirage were going for a retake. They didn't really have the tools for it. Most of the floor, you can't really do anything, because, I mean, the whole basement cavity of this map is entirely solid. You use it for rotates, you use it for flanks. It's almost never used for entry. It's certainly not used for plant denial, because you can't do anything with it. So Mirage just essentially falls off of the bomb site. Now, I don't know if this was a deliberate call for Mirage, and it's always something that we have to speculate on just simply because we don't have access to their comms and we don't know what their strat is. But it didn't look like fundamentally it was very good, because DG assessed that they had complete control of the bomb site. Shuttle walks in, Mark walks in, they've got line of sight in every nook and cranny of the kitchen, of Memorial, of pantry, of laundry, and they just take a plan and then go upstairs. They send somebody up top. Mirage is down below. They're off site. They're not holding top floor. Everything crumbled for Mirage. You have to give obviously some praise and a tip of the hat to DG for the way that they were able to force Mirage out of the bomb site, but also a bit of a wag of the finger for the fact that Mirage conceded so quickly and put themselves in essentially an entirely unwinnable retake, especially when they had no intel. Hot and Cold knew somebody was upstairs, especially after you heard the explosion go off. But at that point, you can't retake. It's too late. They don't know if they have control of Memorial. You have no idea what map control you have as a defender at that point, and you're essentially going to go in and hope to God that Hot and Cold wins his heads up so Nyx can get on that diffuser and disable it. That was that round, though, and this is this round. Are we going to see the cycle renew? That's the real question, and a quick look answers that. Yes, absolutely. It's an Aviator defense for Mirage.
When you said wag of the finger, I started wagging my finger, and I was going to say, you can't see it right now, Parker, but I'm wagging my finger. But then I was wagging my finger for so long that I had to stop. My finger got sore.
And production actually confirmed that you were doing that, because everything that we do is on camera. I often make erratic hand gestures and smoochy faces to production because I appreciate what they do, Michael. I don't know if you do that as well.
Of course.
Of course. It's a requirement, actually. And I feel like it's what really sets us apart as performers and commentators.
Great artiste. Now, here and now, in this round, we do have, once again, a roam in the bottom floor for Mirage. That's Hot and Cold. He's waiting for his opportunity to pounce on red stairs, but the Nomads from Shuttle, the air jabs on the floor, are likely to make his flank that much more difficult. One big thing that Mirage have going for them here is that they haven't yet lost a body. Despite the control that Disrupt has gained over by landing and on the Master side, there's still 5 men up for Mirage, and they are in a great position to just wait this one out. Plenty of utility, C4, gas canisters. There's no pressure. But as loading gives away the only C4 that Mirage has by brazenly peeking into Skull Door, it'll be answered with 2 for Mirage as they also take 90. I guess it was coordinated for Mirage. Not just a brazen peek, but a brazen team peek. And it works out in the end, leaving 30 seconds for Disrupt to execute onto the site. Nyx is keen on giving the opportunity back to Disrupt to win this round, as is Benji, as it somehow turns from a 4v3 into a 3v2. Hot and Cold and Dream now the last 2 defenders. Hot and Cold still likely on that roam. Dream has to hold site himself with 1 gas canister in pocket. The plant going down. The push in from Vault will work out, and J90 gets a lineup and a 2-piece. Disrupt will take the round.
And that was a strange one, because the chances taken by Mirage at the start of the round seem to be working in their favor, but as push comes to shove with all of these Villa defenses, it really comes down to time management. And there's an unpredictability factor with that too. We've seen teams stagger their executes or push through single doorways or single rotates and get mowed down by anybody who's watching that particular angle. In this case, it was DG who were able to mow down Mirage, who once again were boxed out of the bomb site 2 rounds in a row. And like I said in the round previously, and it holds true here too, is it's hard to tell how much of this is a deliberate strategy, that Mirage is conceding map control either strategically because they know they want to go for a retake and simply aren't executing it properly, or better, what I think is happening better yet, is that DG is forcing the fights and forcefully taking map control, which is putting Mirage in an awkward spot where they don't have a clear idea whether they want to fight it or give it up. And a lot of times they seem to be on the losing end of both of those arguments. If you fight it, you're not winning necessarily all your gunfights. If you're giving it up, you're not able to take back map control and not able to take back the bomb site either. The most defender-sided bomb site, you just lost, and you lost it while still holding on to one of the bomb sites, but not being able to do anything with study, not being able to maintain control of 90, only being buried inside of the bar/gaming component. That's all you could do, while Aviator was the enemies for the taking. So Disruptive now drawn even, and this is a defender-sided map, so Mirage have a significant advantage starting on defense. Obviously, that changes when the sides swap. The fact that Disrupt has already been able to wrestle 2 of these rounds away from a formidable defensive side is a good thing, and is certainly something that you can keep an eye on if Disrupt ends up carrying this through and winning the matchup.
Stop worrying about grenades now.
I relish coordination in this game, Parker. I think it's the most interesting thing for me personally. Teamwork, when a decision is made and it's committed to by the squad. The forced retake there from Mirage, the passivity that you questioned, is it intentional from Mirage? Is the giving up of control intentional from Mirage? I think maybe that last round, just because of the forced retake that they executed through 90 and by Skull Door, that's not going to be great for Mark. Nick with an excellent read, he'll just blast Mark through the wall, and you could tell he really did not expect that.
That is an execution if I've ever seen one. DG has been strong at immediately refragging lost players, and they do it yet again. Hot and Cold has not exactly been the star so far of this matchup. His cousin Nyx has now got 3 first bloods to his name. Through those 5 rounds, that's a pretty nice stat to have, especially since Nyx has not been statistically one of the best performers for Mirage. In fact, both Nyx and Loading, who have typically been towards the bottom of the standings for Mirage, are now thriving and excelling. Wonder if any of it is comfort from playing Villa yesterday. Obviously allowed DG to also counter-strat them if they expected to go to Villa. There's still a minute remaining here, though, and Nyx is just about at the pantry stairs. He can head back if he wants to. He'll get caught by J90 if J90 is looking one way. But at some point, the Zofia getting droned in is going to have to head to the bomb site. Nyx will be a big playmaker here. Dream is taking a beating, but the execute is just moments away. Will DG be able to topple it?
Well, it's a good start to that moment as J90 in China will take down one, but there's Loading to have the impact that he's been having throughout many of these rounds. Very important kill to even things out. 20 seconds now, and Disrupt need to start pumping the gas, but Nyx at the top of Astro Stairs will go unpeaked, and this is a freebie if I've ever seen one. You might get a second too, as there's Nomad on the Astro door, shotgun out, ready for the peak, but Shuttle has other intentions. He tries pushing sight, and that's a 3-way crossfire. You're just not gonna win. Mirage will take that round confidently.
Once again, time being a major component here, and I feel like a broken record at this point, or if we want to keep up...
Time.
I want to say that I feel like a clock that stopped working at this point, if I can keep up with those puns.
Just keep them
because yet again, Disrupt are just a little too slow. 40 seconds remaining. You think the execute's going to happen? We're still 20 seconds away from any meaningful push. Why? Disrupt is still roaming, is still drone clearing the roamers on the first floor. Nyx has completely flown under your radar. You don't have any top floor map control the way you need it. And when push comes to shove and somebody on Disrupt goes, we gotta go, we don't have a lot of time, you're walking into a hail of bullets. And you don't have enough time for your utility to be used properly. Because those 20 to 30 seconds that you weren't able to find your footing with proper drone work, that entire minute through the mid-round, where you allowed Nyx to just roam free after sacrificing a player from Disrupt's roster to him, you essentially cost yourself the round when there was still a minute and a half left. And it's hard to find yourself able to make up for the time that's been lost already. When you have to go through a single doorway or you have to go through a single rotate, and you don't have flashes to burn any ADSs or magnets that are in the way, you can't clear any shields, you're going up against operators that have utility still available, there's banshees and barbed wire in your way, you don't have time to be able to pick those pieces of the defensive utility apart. Their setup is going to stay the same. You just have to hope to go for kills at that point. And in the final 50 seconds, final 40 seconds, all of the shots that came out from Disrupt, a lot of them missed.
You can't be missing in moments like that. Of course, that's going to completely destroy your round.
You know, Michael, it's like the great Wayne Gretzky once said, and then Michael Scott quoted him, is that you miss 100% of the shots you take. And also sometimes the shots you do take. So
Wait,
gotta be sharper.
you miss 100% of the shots you take? Did you mean...
No, 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I thought you meant. Okay.
You don't take them. But in some cases, you also miss 100% of the ones you do.
Like in that last round for Disrupt?
I wasn't going to say it out loud, but you said it out loud. So.
I can be like that. Droning.
This has been a relatively close matchup, though, so far between these two teams.
It certainly has. And I will say that Disrupt are on the slightly disadvantaged side. You mentioned it earlier, Parker. This map statistically is a pretty even map, all things considered. However, I still would give the edge slightly to the defense here, especially considering the difficulty we've seen from both of these teams on this map when it comes to actually setting up an execution. It could be a problem. So we'll see if Mirage are able to do it when they switch to the second half here. And now on defense, they're vying for this fourth and final round of the first half.
Benji is in a very similar position as to where he was before. He, unfortunately, for Mirage, wasn't much of a factor, and he won't be this time either. Though, how much of the clock was he able to kill? That's the real question. Yana Clone sprints up the stairs and loading, handles that one with ease, pushing her back from the deployable shield, and now he gets out of there. Once again, Mirage is ceding map control. This is something that we've been focusing on over the previous couple rounds. They have fallen off of Aviator entirely and will now play the angles both below and across from that position. The good news for Mirage is that Nyx is still in study. So if required, he can potentially re-enter Aviator through an avenue that at this point, this late in the round, Disrupt won't be looking at. There's 30 seconds left, and there's still hesitation from DG as to what they want to do. They have a numbers advantage. They still have some utility. Not much, but there's still some available for them. 2 smokes and the ability for Iconic to drone in. He's going to do just that. Droning in as loading misses an opportunity on a shot into study window. A vault in, sprays down on one. He's getting pressured. Pulls out the gun, but can't do much more. His sidearm ineffective. 2 kills from DG as they hold an advantage. 4v2. Nick spraying through the wall as best as he can. Do they know Iconic is getting the diffuser down? That's the question. Dream finished off. Nick stops it at the last second. Nobody's watching Vault, and his rotate is good enough to give Mirage the round. On defense, Mirage walks away with a 4-2 lead.
I don't know what Nyx was saying just now, but I'm going to go ahead and guess it's something along the lines of, excuse me, what were you guys watching? I'm confused because it seemed
my
like...
dear sir, I'm curious as to what you were doing.
Pardon the inquiry. I know it might be a little bit harsh, but you weren't covering anything. What were you... that I could tell. What were you covering? Because I just walked right through Vault and there was the planter. 000. Easy round, man. Easy round. What the hell were they covering, Parker? That's the confusing. I mean, I know the time is low. I get it. I get it. The round's chaotic. But man, what a mess.
Attackers need to locate and
What?
defuse as many bombs.
What a mess. Let me help.
Yeah. You know, he certainly helped himself to that round. Hey.
Attackers have located
It's like
bombs.
he sees an opportunity, thinks to himself, well, is there a way for me to possibly rotate here sight unseen? Indubitably. It actually looked like one of the smokes from Disrupt worked against them, by the way. So that could have been it as well. Nyx was playing behind the solid wall with the 2 rotates at either side. Plant was going down left of the door across from the model in Aviator.
Yeah.
Basically right next to the bomb chassis. The only spot that you can get punished from that position is Vault. But the problem is that on attack, unless you are in study with a line of sight to Vault, or you are in the bar component, the other bomb site, that angle from vault is not able to be punished. You can open up vault wall, wasn't opened up. Study wall, didn't look to be opened up, at least not the line of sight that they needed. DG were behind model. And they were waiting, expecting Nyx to still be off site. I don't think Disrupt knew that Nyx was in the bomb site. And I don't think they were able to spot him because it looked like the smoke was hiding a portion of the map. And that was Nyx with good game sense to make the call whether there was a cam up or not, or whether there was intel up or not, for him to be able to get the diffuser and the planter all in one fell swoop. And even though he was significantly outnumbered, they still win the round because ultimately the attackers failed on the objective, and that's all that matters.
C4 will detonate, but no kill there for Shuttle. Nyx will take a lot of damage, but luckily for him, he was standing on top of the case inside a trophy. I really want to quickly highlight, by the way, just real quick, that's the second time that Disrupt lost an attack round because they couldn't decide if they should go for the kills in the final seconds or plant the diffuser. They keep making that mistake. The first time was the 2v1, where we had a Wamai playing inside a vault, and the Nomad decides to peek instead of just holding for the plant. And that last round was the second time. Anyway, getting into this round, half of it has expired, and we're getting vertical already from Mirage. This is very quick work for Mirage on the roam clear, and the vertical is definitely going to cost Disrupt.
This is something, again, by the way, that we talk about is this clock management. And with Thatcher and Sledge being your two operators banned, you noted it right at the beginning. Both Wamai and Jaeger are up. If a team is going to run an Aruni, or if a team is going to run a Malusi, or a Goyo, all three maybe, or two of those alongside a Jaeger and Wamai, there is so much that you have to do as an attacker. There is so many things. There are so many things on a checklist that you need to check off before you can begin to try to get the diffuser planted. You've got to clear Denial, you've got to clear Banshees, you've got all this work to do while also droning out a relatively big map. And Mirage were roaming quite hard. And instead of ignoring them, DG didn't seem to have their wits about them and decide to just push the bomb site. In many cases, they spent too long trying to clear out and fight phantom illusions, and they ended up shadowboxing nobody.
Look at the time.
How do they do it? It's 20 seconds left. It doesn't feel like it. Mirage is wasting a lot of time. They get the very first kill. It's on to J90. Mirage so far cleaning up in the first kills department. Hot and Cold finally online. He's waking up. He's going to have to do more for his team. DG is boxed out. 3 kills for Hot and Cold. Benji steals a potential ace. Retro is inside a Memorial, and it's a Memorial for Retro. Memorial service inbound is loading, ends that one, and it's a flawless start to the second half with Mirage netting their 5th round.
Did Hot and Cold just get up and shout? I don't think I've ever seen him do that. I mean, sure he has before, but...
I mean, Hot is in his name, Michael.
That's true. He is that. In more ways than one. But the team that is hot right now is his team, Mirage, and they are up 5-2. Flawless... Oh, hang on. We're going to get a pause here. A flawless start to that half is a great result for Mirage. Looks like we're going to be pausing because of a technical issue. Somebody cannot pick an operator, so we're going to have to sort that out before we pick things up again. That last round, mostly to me, comes down to how swiftly Mirage were able to clear out upstairs and start affecting that vertical play. Now, obviously, there were no picks directly as a result of the vertical. I'm sure that many of you made that observation. But when you open up above the site, you force the defenders into less than desirable positions, not where they want to be, and then you can collapse using angles off-site. There were plenty of those open to cause problems for the defenders. It's exactly what Mirage did, and they did it very well. One thing that I think is starting to happen here is that Mirage are proving themselves a very capable Villa team, if nothing else. They really, really like playing on this map. And two play days in a row, that has been made apparent.
You saw it, and we were in the middle of talking about the previous half before we got into it, but you saw the gusto, the speed at which Mirage entered study, and then they had 3 players enter study together, it out quickly, took control of Classical, took control of 90, droned out Aviator, droned out Games, took control of Landing, made sure that the second floor was relatively clear, free and clear. The offsite players for Disrupt were mostly on that first floor and down in the basement, wasting time down there. Actually seeing a lot of basement play here. It's usually reserved for pulses, maybe vigils. In your ranked games, you'll see a Caveira down there. Spooky, she hides in corners. Don't get scared. Also use your drones, by the way, when you deal with a Caveira. Just a PSA right here. Why is Cav killing my whole team? Because none of you use your mics, and none of you use your drones. And you vault through a window, and she kills you, and then interrogates your whole team, and then everybody gets mad, and suddenly, now people have mics.
So we're talking...
Sidetracking myself.
Yeah. So, wait a minute. Hang on.
Yes.
Disrupt versus Mirage. 5-2. Mirage on attack. They're attacking on a trophy now. On Villa. The map is Villa. Mirage are looking really good on Villa.
I'm not sure what you're doing. Are you taking notes?
Yes, I am taking verbal notes.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I said take note. Oh, you were interpreting it literally.
I do that just because I want to be a
Wow.
party pooper.
You are so fun.
It's entirely deliberate, Parker.
You described yourself as a bummer once, Michael. I don't think that's true.
Well, thank you.
A little bit of audience interaction here. Chat, do you think that Michael is a bummer?
You saying that because you think that they're gonna say no?
Yeah, they're definitely going to say no. They're going to be like, no, he's great.
But I think you'd be surprised.
I mean, it's Twitch chat. Nothing surprises me with them.
Oh, okay. Oh no. You know what is kind of
A
interesting?
wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Oh wait, what is that from? Oh gosh, wait.
Star
Star Wars. No, I was gonna get that one, Parker. Ah! I only get like 10% of them. And then you took the one that I knew I could get.
My friends have described me as a bummer.
Oh my god. That's my
A real
line.
bummer here, by the way, right now. The position that Mark is in, he's playing to die inside a bathroom. He's sitting in the shower stall.
No
A cold
self-deprecation
shower
for you.
might be all that's in his future if he's not able to get out of here in time.
Only I get to do that. There's only room for one self-deprecator in the friend dynamic. I'm just kidding.
Please self-deprecate.
I'm trying to correct that. It's not equality. It's definitely something that I'm trying to correct. Now, what it needs to be correct here for Disrupt is their setup. Is they're losing bodies early on. Down goes Mark, and that's one of your top performers. Look at the kills right now for Disrupt. They have been very quiet on defense and attack alike. Now, with Iconic peeking brazenly into the hole made by Nyx, he will trade himself out as Loading catches Iconic on the mirror window peek. 50 seconds left in this round, so Mirage are not strapped for time. They have now gained the man advantage.
Shuttle's down below with no Nitro Cell. Goyo will have to retake at some point. Nitro Cell goes off. Pre-play, so no damage done, though. Mirage, by getting that kill onto Iconic, has now shaken off the one defender that was playing on the triple panel. The retake from Shuttle works out just well. Benji seemed to know about it, but that's about it. A double kill from Loading is leading his team at the moment. Retro boxed in by the Doran Trophy. He's got Mark's header. Goodness gracious, where did this player come from? Hot and cold on the flank. Shuttle will not be able to make it back to the site, and it's match point for Mirage.
Who is that, and what has he done with not loading? That man currently sits at, I believe, 12 kills and 3 deaths. Hang on a second. I gotta check his stats. Hang on. So through this stage, he has started the day as the 3rd worst player in the NAL with 38 kills and 60 deaths, and he has 12 and 3 right now. With that. I mean, he's basically slopped on almost a whole other third of his original kills, and that's over 7 Playdays. This is the 8th. I mean, he's the difference maker today, Parker. We talked about it in the Playday yesterday when Mirage were going up against SSG. When your quiet players show up, even if it's just in one round, it makes all the difference. And one of Mirage's historically quietest players, not loading, he is dropping bombs right now.
Attackers have located bomb.
Well, he's putting on a hell of a performance so far. 12 and 3 as Mirage now have Disrupt on the ropes. The best defensive site Aviator in games. The defenders have the best chance here and have the best record here as well. This is where Disrupt are going to hang their hat. They have not defended this bomb site yet. Their rotation through these 3 rounds, Kitchen the first defense, Trophy the second, and then Aviator as well. They've been wholly unsuccessful on the defense. Mirage just played this match yesterday against SSG, and this is a very different result. Yes, Mirage won that matchup, by the way. 8-7.
Yeah. They
It is, in fact, by the way, it is one of 2 overtime victories that Mirage have. They're looking for a knockout punch here, and they have lots of leeway. Obviously, you don't want to give DG any momentum or any reason to celebrate if they are currently wallowing in the depths, in the gallows. You want to put them away before they can mount a comeback. You've got 4 rounds to try to win a single one, and no team so far has burned a timeout either.
Mirage are looking really good on Villa, that's for sure. But they've got a great history through the season or through the later half of this stage. I mean, they started getting wins on Playday 5, and they haven't stopped. Every team they've played, they've beaten since Playday number 5. We're on Playday number 8 right now. So, I mean, yeah, you said it yourself, though. They tend to go a long time. They're looking for the knockout punch. There's definitely a chance for that. But Disrupt could start the comeback here.
Was that a double air jab on Astro Stairs, by the way?
They put one in the half-destroyed floorboards, which is clever because it's harder to see, but the second one on the other side. Now, the reason you do that is because obviously you can hear the air jab when you're creeping up on it as a roamer. You're going to aim to shoot one of them, but you usually run straight off after you shoot the first one, and the second one will catch you in that eventuality.
Also, an impact grenade will not necessarily get an air jab that's around the wall either, so... If you make the play, it might not work out in your favor.
Yeah, it's a good way to be extra super duper careful when there's like the reason you do that mainly is if it's an unmanned flank. A lot of flanks are held, like the red stairs flank, for example. You see 2 attackers there right now. Astro Stairs, nobody's there. It's a waste of manpower to put somebody on that flank. Just double up on air jabs. You're fine.
You can hear another air jab at the top of red, and a cacophony of sounds. J90 gets the leadoff pick, but Benji was better below onto Iconic, and amidst the chaos and confusion, Hot and Cold surges into the bomb site, diffuser in hand. He gets shut down, though, by a nitro cell. Benji immediately rotates towards the vault door. He's got the diffuser, and he's halfway through it. Nyx is going to need to guide it, but he's not good enough. Even though teams trade out kills, they're going to need to get the diffuser for Mirage to do anything. DG knows this. They're going to be licking their chops, waiting for either Nyx or Dream to try this one. Nyx engaging over towards 90, gets the kill on a puzzling play from Mark, who knows that he needs to take up space as quickly as possible. Retro falls off the bomb site. It's DG to cede ground. So will the smoke be able to make anything work? Any kind of noise whatsoever. He finds one. Nyx will be able to get the diffuser down, though, and it will be a 1v1 between former teammates. Retro versus Nyx. Battle of the Titans. Up Retro creeps.
Oh, no.
Diffuser's there. He's going to try for it. He knows there's somebody down below. He'll go to red stairs, taking the fight into his own hands. The air jab gives his position away, and he has just burned a lot of time. So onto the diffuser he's going to go. Nyx should be able to hear this. Halfway there, Nyx, you're going to have to hurry, doing some damage, but the duel is going both ways. Retro can't land the shots. Nyx can, and it's good enough to give Mirage the round. And with that, they get the map.
Oh boy, that was a tense one towards the end. Mirage played it so well, but so did Disrupt. It all started off with that lifeline opening up the wall on Piano. That's because you expect somebody to be trying to play C4 below inside Piano. Beautiful awareness from Mirage. They then double up on that excellent play by pushing their planter deep by the bomb chassis instead of going for the conventional behind vault or behind model plant. Both of those are expected and usually more directly countered. But then Disrupt answers back with their own great awareness. They C4 bomb chassis, knowing that's where the plant is going down. Then the recovery, retrieving the diffuser, running through the site, grabbing it and getting behind vault. Oh my, huge risks. All the while, bodies are hitting the floor, chaos is ensuing, and then eventually, luckily, Mirage gets the plant down. Nyx plays the post plant well. I do, as you questioned it, I also question that push down long haul from Mark. I think that was a mistake, and I think it ultimately cost Disrupt that round. But there were other mistakes that were leading up to that failure. Great play from Mirage in the end. Excellent strategy and awareness.
It sounded like you were going to say something else.
Really?
Yeah, it sounded like there was a third thing coming.
I usually end on something like great play, excellent strategy, or they did really well, or You like start with that or end with that. I mean, it's usually
It's the intonation, you know. You're like, there were a couple things that really stood out to me in that matchup. Great play, excellent strategy
from Mirage.
Yeah, but it sounded like you were kind of hanging.
No, I mean, like
you left me hanging.
I kind of, I like picked apart almost everything that happened in that round. I mean, I left out some of the small things like the Yin Candelas. That's cool. I like how they didn't rush off the Yin Candelas, just use them as hard distractions so they could try a plant. And that would have maybe worked if the site were bigger. The C4s are a thing, and that's a conventional way to deny a plant. So I don't know. I think they got most of it.
For Mirage?
My bad on the intonation.
Yeah, don't int. For Mirage, by the way, that's 3 points.
None of you will get that, but I got it.
Yeah, you'll get it. For Mirage, those 3 points will vault them over Disrupt into 4th place in the NA League. For DG, that loss is a soul crusher. DG was in 4th place. Those 6 points, if they had won here and win tomorrow, that was enough to possibly give them top in NAL. But it wasn't good enough. Mirage was the better team today, and we've got an interview ready with Hot and Cold to go through what happened in that matchup.